Hi, welcome back to our tutorial 2. So in the last lecture, we talked about what is R, how can you assign values to our different variables, how can you manipulate variables, assign them, reassign them, and all that kind of stuff. Now, what we'll try to see what R can do for us. For example, we'll start with the basic calculations which R can use. So in fact, you can use R as a calculator. Okay. So I'm adding two numbers, I'm multiplying two numbers, I'm subtracting one number from another, exponential of 5 raised to the power 2. So this head kind of symbol which you are seeing over here, this is used to denote the power. This is logarithm of 5. This is manipulation based on variable. Okay. So till this place, we are talking about only the integer variables. But R is not just about integers. There are a good number of data structures or data types which are available in R and you can use in your analysis. For example, here I am using a numeric data type, which is basically a decimal. Okay. Let's see how does it work with character, more character, all of 2. See the complex variables which have real and imaginary part. Okay. There are logical vectors also. Logical vectors are something which can take value only true or false, or in Boolean you can say 1 or 0. So here we saw a good number of data types, but at the same point of time I have introduced two new functions to you. The one is the print function and another one is class. So print is basically to print a value or a syntax, anything to our R console. Okay, let's see how does it work and why do we need it. So I'm creating a dump function which basically takes two values, sum them up and store them in a new variable called num3. So don't worry about the function part over here, how to create them, how to use them. We'll see and we'll try to learn them in subsequent lectures. But just for now, just assume that function is something, take some input, do something and returns it to a variable in which you want to store. Okay, that's it. Function takes input, gives output. That's all you want to know at this point of time. Okay, so we have defined our function. Let's call our function. Oops. So what happened? What happened to this num3 over here? So generally when we run it, let's say this is num3. Oops, forgot to assign num1. Let's say num1 I want to give 4, num2 5. Now if I calculate num3, so I print it out, it should print it out because when I'm calling the function, it is running these two rows, but it didn't return anything when I ran. So it's not an error. Basically, when you call a variable within a function, it doesn't print out to console. If you explicitly want it to be printed, you have to use print. Okay. So I'm assigning the function body to my first func. Okay, let's call it again. So because of this print function which we used, the second call, we got value 3 printed over here. Okay. Oops. So I pressed Ctrl plus L, which cleaned up my console. So Ctrl plus L you can use to clean up your console whenever you want. Okay. Now let's move forward. So till now we have seen variables where we assigned a single value to n number of variables. Now what if I want to assign more than one values to a variable? For example, I want to assign values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 to a variable called my num. So this small function c, which you are seeing over here, it is used to combine more than one values into a single variable. Let's see what does it say. So in R, whenever you want to get help, just press question mark and the name of that function. So it says that it combines values into a vector or list. We'll see later what a vector or list. Just focus on the part that it combines values. Okay. Cool. So we learned about creating a vector or a collection of objects through C operator. Now I'm going to introduce a new operator, which is colon operator and very useful. So instead of writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we should have something intelligent way which can do it for us. So here we had 6 values, so we could type them. But what if there are hundreds or thousands of values? So let's say I want to print 1 to 100. So I will use a colon operator and give start and end. Just press it. It will give me the whole range starting from 1 to n. Okay. Let's see how does it work when I want to assign. Same thing. So this C operator or combine operator which we saw, it can be used to combine any data type, not only numeric or integer. So let's say I want to assign characters A, B, C and D to a new variable called my cat. That's it. It can even store the strings. Okay. Now I will ask a small question to you. Let's say I write this command over here. So the question to you is whether this will work. If it will work, then what will it store? Okay, because we have here integers, characters, booleans, logical, n number of things. I can even add the big strings also. Okay, I'll give you a sec. Just think. Okay, here we go. So R is actually converted all the entries passed to it into a character, because 1 can be converted into a character, true can be converted into a character, and so on. So this is basically called the coercing, where R internally coerce the variables whenever it can. Okay. So in the beginning of this lecture, we saw about the class variable. So let's see what is the class of this newly created object. Character. Okay. So R is pretty smart now. Cool. Coming back to vectors. So vector is a kind of data structure which we use in R, and in fact we will use it very frequently. So vector is nothing but just a collection of observations or entries same data type. So whatever we saw here, like vector mynum, vector mynum2, mychar, charnum are the example of vectors. Let's create a new vector which contains values from 1 to 7. Print it out. Okay. Now, if you want to know the number of entries in a vector, you can use function length, the length of v1. Simple. You can see there are 7 values. You can apply functions over vector. Sum of v1 is basically summation of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I want to calculate mean. So I calculate sum, I calculate number of entries, and I know that average is the sum divided by the number of entries. I say. So instead of assigning it to separate variables, we can do it in a go using the same functions and storing directly. Okay. Now this is the way you are waiting for, using R function, mean of v1. So all three are different ways to calculate mean or average if you want. Now, if I want to extract a particular part of my vector, I can use that using the square brackets. So if I run this, I'll get the third entry within my vector. So 1 is first entry, 2 is second entry, and 3 was the third entry which we got. Okay. Now if I want second and third value, so you can write v1 square bracket 2 comma 3. Oh, gave me an error. So basically we can pass only one value within a square bracket because vector has one dimension. We'll learn about multi-dimensional objects later. But R is smart. So we learned about this combine operator using which we can combine multiple values within one object. So we'll use that to get second and third value. Here you go. Now again one more question for you. So what will be the output of this? v1 1 colon 4. Do you think it will give an error or it will give values 1 4, values 1 2 3 4? Let's see. Okay, so it gave values which are at indices 1 2 3 and 4. Okay, so this was about vectors. In the next lectures we'll talk about other functionalities of R. Till then, enjoy learning, enjoy R.